We have a moral and we have a legal obligation.
We've a legal obligation, we've spoken about that earlier on.
We have international obligations, but we have those moral obligations as well.
We have, I suppose, a moral and legal obligation.
We have a legal and moral obligation.
We have international obligations under international law. So there's a legal obligation on us. We are legally obliged under international law.
The state has a moral and legal obligation in line with our international obligations, And
we have international obligations.
Our international obligations.
People are eligible to seek international protection here. That is our legal obligation.
Responding to our legal obligations.
We have a moral and legal obligation, and rightly so.
We have an international, a legal and a moral obligation, not just because it is our international obligation to do so.
The legal obligations that we have as a state, and we have a moral and legal obligation.
We have a legal and moral obligation.
We have international obligations.
And we've heard our international obligations and we've signed up to those, and nobody disputes that.
And there are international treaties under which we apply rules.
To its international protection obligations.
Ireland has international legal and moral obligations.
And we have international legal obligations.
We have a legal, moral and cultural obligation.
We are not meeting our international obligations. We are not meeting our international obligations.
To meet our international obligations, Ireland has not only an international legal obligation, but we also have a moral obligation.
And have to be processed and have legal obligations to do that. And again, we have international legal obligations. Our international obligations.
Rising to our moral obligations. Of course you have an obligation to afford international protection. We all know that.